Wait till the music's over and then.
Like a comforter in a simple I am so delighted to be with everybody here this morning. I'm Reverend GretaSesheta, and this is the Sanctuary of the Spirit. And all is well. We're here gathered, and we're all in our places with the bright, shiny faces. So happy to see everyone. Hey, Go-Go. Yay, the gang's all here. So, like to welcome you to the Sanctuary of the Spirit, and like to begin, as we always do, with a prayer. A chance to center ourselves, a chance to breathe, to relax, to let go, to know that there is one power and presence. It's the power of good. It is the power of God. It is the power of the divine, by whatever name we know it. The Spirit of God is here and now, revealing itself through and as the life of all. And we are gathered in this circle of light and love with like-minded individuals from all over the planet, all over different times and places and spaces, knowing God aright. I'm grateful to know that the divine plan for this morning is unfolding perfectly, rightly, and well, and that each of us is attuned to it. Each of us is bringing something special and important and unique to this gathering. We are here blessing one another and growing together, growing in our realization of what is real, what is true, what is eternal. And this is what is happening in spiritual communities everywhere. I give thanks that it's happening right here and right now, and I just let it be so. And I do that by saying, and so it is. Amen. It's just kind of wonderful the way everything does finally all come together in the way that it is meant to. And we are here gathering. Last week I decided beforehand that we would just take a pause, and a pause refreshes everything. It gives an opportunity to kind of reset and to be present with what is already known, as opposed to continuously taking something in. So I thought we would just do a pause, like a little rest, like in music, the rest between the notes. Make the notes understandable and more beautifully appreciated. So that was my plan, and I announced that we would take a pause last Sunday. Last Sunday, the topic was what the light reveals about the Father. And we were talking about Father's Day and the summer solstice that were both happening as thresholds in the month of June. And so we took this pause, and oh my goodness, it sounds so crazy to say, but one of my daughters had a heart attack. And so, she's okay, she's recuperating. And but what I thought was going to be a pause was really an opportunity to I guess step in more to what it is that I really know, and to practice that. And so I am feeling refreshed, and I am feeling renewed, and I hope that you had an opportunity as well to find a space of renewal and rest for yourself. Topic today, I think the focus for this month looks like it's going to be all about freedom and all the different ways that we are free to express ourselves, free to know and free to choose and free to grow and free to be all that we are meant to be. And so the focus today is on the freedom to know, the chair, the silence, and the truth. And I'd like to start with this piece that was written by a practitioner friend of mine, Mitch Earl. Many of you know Mitch from Agape. And his piece is called Happy 250th Birthday. Yes, a special friend of Sylvia's and mine. Happy 250th Birthday, USA. And he starts with a quote by Thomas Jefferson that says, "I like the dreams of the future better than the history of the past." And this is what Mitch writes. He says, "The great experiment called the United States of America is having its 250th birthday. It was on July 4th, 1776, when 56 men in the Second Continental Congress, through intense debates in the hot and humid summer heat, inside Independence Hall in Philadelphia, adopted the Declaration of Independence. And like many of us humans, the United States has been a mixture of amazing successes and sometimes significant shortcomings. The abomination of slavery, condoned by revered U.S. leaders, extended exploited black labor to the construction of significant structures like the White House and the U.S. Capitol. And non-whites and women were denied and disenfranchised the right to vote for decades after the 13 colonial states unanimously declared all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And Mitch says, the list goes on. And yet, he writes, like us, individuals who have persevered through challenges, the United States is and remains an amazing country. It has had a can-do spirit from the beginning. With technological inventions and innovations, creative solutions to social issues, and the development of institutions of higher learning. For many years of its existence, the United States has been a beacon of light and a model for other nations. Citizens here enjoy freedoms that other citizens can only wish for. And he says that list goes on too. We can learn a lot from the United States. We might see the reflection of the stellar and expansive beauty that is within each of us when we see the Grand Canyon or an Alaskan glacier, Hawaiian waterfall. We may be inspired by many of the preponderance of U.S. movies and books and performances that make an affecting impression on us. We can be uplifted and gain insights by engaging with other individuals amidst the great diverse population that exists in the United States. The United States and each of us, we're not just one thing. We are made up of a spectrum of talents and abilities. As this 250th-year-old country, and we, the people, continue to evolve, we can regularly check in on ourselves for an assessment. How are we moving towards advancement? What are we wanting to change? How do we see ourselves? And Mitch's affirmation is, I affirm my right and the right of all to be free. I know that like the best of the United States, I am continuing to embrace, embody, and foster the highest ideals. Written by and through Mitch Earl. embrace and embody the highest that we know. So, yesterday, if you live in the United States, we celebrated 250 years. And we celebrated with fireworks and celebrations and performances and sometimes maybe quiet contemplation of, the opportunity to have something to be excited about, some celebration together. But I want to really turn our attention to another kind of freedom, a different kind of freedom, a freedom that we experience within ourselves, that is for ourselves, that seems in comparison maybe smaller, but no less important for the I am of who we are. Another kind of freedom that you can maybe hold close in your hands or in your heart. Maybe a freedom that you can acknowledge within yourself. Perhaps through me sharing some of the freedom that I have discovered for myself. And you may notice that today I'm not sitting in my usual swivel chair that I can get to things easily. It's a little bit different this morning. I'm in a rocking chair. And it's an old rocking chair. Got all kinds of little things here, but this rocking chair has been waiting for a while to it be recognized, to express itself. This freedom is a word that really comes up around July, and it's important. But before freedom became a document or a declaration, freedom was a sense, it was a willingness within us, a willingness to know something is the way that I'm thinking about freedom this morning. Your willingness to know your truth for you, which affects how you see everything, the truth that you can know for yourself. This willingness to know and to be changed by what you can learn, to be changed by what you're growing through, whatever it was that you were going through from the last time that we met together. So grateful to see people joining on YouTube and Facebook and right here. Hilda joining us. We haven't seen her for a while, so nice to have you back, Hilda. But this freedom to know, you can't be free of anything that you're not willing to be aware of. You can't be free of something that you don't know anything about. You just have a kind of a sense of what it is, what it means. So I want to share with you about a woman that I only really became aware of really maybe a year ago, even though her blood was running through my veins. I became aware of her name, and I was so happy to realize that her name was Mary Garner. But that was really all that I knew. I didn't know what she looked like or where she came from, what she was all about. But I found through doing a little research that she was born in February of 1842. So I was born in December of 1942. So she was born 100 years ago before me, and her name was Mary. And there I have an Aunt Mary, and I have my grandmother's name was Mary, and this woman's name was Mary. And she was born in Middleburg, Virginia, and she was born a slave. And the person that owned her, I found out, was a Welshman, and he was a judge, like my dad was a judge. And his name was Lloyd Smith. So I found out that Lloyd Smith owned Mary Garner in 1842. And Mary lived in the big house. She didn't live out in the slave cabins where a lot of the slaves lived. And maybe the slaves I've heard that lived in the cabins, had some kind of a feeling about the slaves that lived in the big house. But there was nothing that anybody would envy about being owned by another person. So I found her name on a family tree, but I didn't have any other kind of information. And that's a kind of a bondage too, just be a name that nobody knows anything about and nobody feels in touch with. It's a kind of a thing that sets up a wall between knowing, a wall between being free to know, to be free to associate with or identify with. And then one of my cousins passed, and his daughter sent me some pictures that he had. And lo and behold, there was a picture of Mary Garner, not of her, it was a picture of some flowers, a wreath for her funeral. I found an obituary that was written in 1913. It said, "A loving mother gone." And my cousin sent me this picture of Mary Garner. And I made a copy of it. Maybe you can see it. She's right there in the middle of this group of flowers, a wreath that someone sent. And it was amazing to be able to put the name to an image of someone. And as I found out more about Mary Garner, I found that after emancipation, she continued to live in the big house. And 6 years after slavery was supposed to be ended, she gave birth to a son. And the father of the son was Lloyd Smith. Well, he really wasn't, it was a different kind of a father, because he didn't acknowledge his son publicly, but he did send him to school, and to some pretty nice schools as I have learned it. But then, I realized that my great-grandfather was a slave owner. And it's not like it was a secret. It's not like, but it was just like a silence. It was like a silence that nobody really broke to really talk about. And I'm sure this is not unique. We all, people that are, called in this country African Americans, we all somewhere down the line have that same lineage part. And so I have the blood of Mary Garner and the blood of Lloyd Smith running through my veins. So am I to siphon some of it out and say, that isn't really happened? But the energy of, like, the realization of it was interesting to me. And that is a kind of a bondage when families have things that they just don't talk about. You don't bring it up. It creates another kind of a barrier. But Mary Garner, she didn't have a whole lot of choices. But she chose to give her son the last name of the man that she loved. And that last name that was given to him was Griffith. So I was Greta Griffith at one point. So she gave the last name because she couldn't give the name of the man that was the real father, right? So she gave the last name of the man that she loved. And the first name she gave was Thomas. I don't know where she got the name Thomas. I haven't been able to find that part out, but she couldn't really choose her circumstances, but she chose to name her son what she wanted to call him. And she chose, by doing that, what an important part of how he would be known. And so her son Thomas named his son Thomas, who is my dad. And his son Thomas named his son Thomas, who was my brother. And his son Thomas named his son Thomas, who is my nephew. So this was a choice, an exercise of her freedom to pull this name down. And I'll show you one more picture. This is a picture that I found. And the Thomas Griffith at the top is my grandfather. That is Mary Garner's son, the first one. And the second Thomas Griffith is my dad. And the third Thomas Griffith is his son. And his son has a son named Thomas Griffith, who has a grandson named Thomas. So this choice, freedom to choose, how it affected not only what she would call her son, but, maybe you have something like that in your family, in your lineage, where a name just appeared from somewhere and you're not sure. And you might want to know, or maybe you can trace, this person has the same name as this person. It makes an important difference for how the I am expresses based upon what the I am is called, the name that is used. So my grandfather had this father that wouldn't claim him, but somehow provided for him. And when he got old enough, he lived in the basement of the slaveholder while he was going to school. But his mother couldn't read or write. Mary Garner didn't read or write. But she suggested to her son that he become a minister. And so he did. He got a doctorate degree in divinity, and he built a church in Los Angeles 100 years ago that's still going strong. And he preached freedom to thousands of people. And so in a way, that energy, that freedom of Mary Garner to choose to raise her child in a way that he would want to minister to others is still in a full effect, still makes a difference. To me, because he was my grandfather, to you, because he gave something, he shared something that was important, that's still affecting lives today. Everything that you do that is kind and considerate makes a difference to everybody that lives. And you may not know it, you may not think of it as anything. I'm getting just way off the track, but day before yesterday, I saw these two little boys in the middle of the street, and they were asking for money, for donations. One of them looked like maybe he was 7 and maybe 10. And I pulled over and I talked to one of them that I could. And I told him, please don't be in the street. Don't be in the street with the cars going by. And I shared what I had, what I could share. And I thought, well, somewhere, some parent must be doing the best that they know to do under these circumstances to have their children out trying to find a way to eat. So that is the condition that we're living in. We can look at it, we can be aware of it, or we can pretend that it's not really happening or it's not really affecting us. And we want the best for everybody. Wherever you are in it is a part of the way that you are expressing your freedom right now. And there's no judgment on it. But we have more of a choice when we can be more aware of what is going on, the freedom that we do have. And so anyway, I just did some My dad has an uncle, my Uncle Lloyd. Isn't it interesting that his first name is Lloyd? Like his slave owner grandfather's name was Lloyd. My Uncle Lloyd was very close to me, and he was here longer than my dad was, and he used to write letters about everything. So he wrote letters about Mary Garner, and he told me that she went to live with her son Thomas when they moved to Des Moines, Iowa, and she lived her last years there with him, and that she got up from the dinner table some November evening in 1913 and went and sat in her rocking chair, and she just fell asleep and she never woke up. She just rocked herself into the next expression. That's one of the reasons why I'm sitting in a rocking chair this morning, just sharing this story with you. But the next part that I want to tell you about, I would have gotten wrong if I had talked to you about this last year, because I didn't understand. My Uncle Lloyd in his letter said, Grandmother Griffith went and sat in the rocking chair and she passed. He was talking about his grandmother. I thought he was talking about my grandmother. But that meant that he was talking about my great-grandmother, who was Mary Garner. And that made the rocking chair that she sat in much older than it would have been if it had just been my grandmother. Instead of being about 100 years old, it would have been about 200 years old. And so then I realized that it was Mary Garner that he was talking about. And then there was a second mistake that was involved. Because in my house, I have 2 rocking chairs. I've never purchased a rocking chair. When I inherited the house, when my parents were done with it, the rocking chairs were here. And one was a kind of a shorter rocking chair, and one was a kind of a taller rocking chair. But Uncle Lloyd said that his grandmother sat in a mahogany rocking chair. So I was trying to figure out, well, I had an idea which one was the mahogany rocking chair, but then I thought, is that really mahogany? Because it was kind of refinished. It looks a little bit different. But anyway, I had the rocking chair that was the rocking chair in my room, kind of in a safe place where I kind of have a special corner with angels and a little altar there. And the other rocking chair I have in the front room where, people that come to visit, they can sit down. But I just kept thinking about, well, how do I know which rocking chair is? And I looked at pictures and I called refurnishing places and looked into what mahogany looks like, and I really couldn't determine. So I decided to do something that maybe, my generation, maybe yours knows a little bit more about. And I decided that I would just ask a pendulum, right? And I sat in the rocking chair and I asked, is this the rocking chair that my great-grandmother sat in? And without me moving it, I knew that the pendulum would swing forward and back if the answer was yes, or it would swing side to side if the answer was no. And I sat in both rocking chairs, and the rocking chair that my grandmother sat in was not the chair that I thought. It was the chair that sits in my living room that anybody could sit in. And so I started, it's this rocking chair right here. I started having another kind of sense about it because I shared with my family, and I'm sure that the rocking chair wasn't meant to be put away someplace special where nobody could sit in it. That this rocking chair is meant for all of us. And there's a certain kind of freedom in me knowing that this rocking chair is like a gift to me from Mary Garner. And it's a gift that I get to share with you because there was a question that came up that wanted to be answered through me. And now it is. So I had the wrong grandmother and I had the wrong rocking chair, but it all worked out in a wonderful way. My freedom to know, my willingness to be free to know the truth for myself. And there is a truth for you that is wanting to be known through you. And there is a way for you to access it, to know it, because this freedom to know is not a wall. It's a door. It's a door that is as you're moving towards it, it opens. And a way is found for you to know the truth that you are meant to know. And for you to have the sense of freedom that you were meant to have. You're created a free being. You're created to be free in the spirit and only here for God. And I don't know, Ricky sings this song about, I used to think that loving God would be hard, but loving God is wonderful. She says loving God is ecstasy. I would have to say, the more I know about my connection to God, the more magnificent it feels to me. It doesn't feel like, oh, now I got to meditate, now I got to pray, now I got to read this or that. It's freedom. It is ecstasy. It's a sense of any walls of separation just crumbling. So, this freedom, it's a kind of a practice. It's not like a one-off thing. It's like something that once you are attracted to it, it pulls you in. It embraces you. It's not suffocating in a way. It's supportive. It's like you get more of a sense of your life and what it is meant to be. So, my grandfather got to practice, having a father that I guess cared for him but just couldn't claim him, and a mother that couldn't read, that wanted him to learn to read. And rather than letting that kind of complicated inheritance stop him, in a way, the practice of his own sense of freedom, his own sense of who he was, is what carried him through. In the same way, it's a practice that this country is still learning about how to live up to its ideals. That every man, woman, and child and animal is created equal and is important and is blessed and is wonderful and is valuable and is a part. This is something that we're still, after 250 years, learning. But the information is all around us. It's just a matter of practicing being attuned to it, of having an interest in it, instead of what things people just keep throwing in front of us. Look at this, go here, go there, know this, know that. It's a quiet, empowering freedom to know, freedom to be willing. And I had to be willing to admit I was wrong about the grandmothers. I was wrong about the rocking chairs. I was wrong about a bunch of things. But there is a sense of me, I'm growing. I'm knowing more about who I am because I want to know. And because I want to share and I want you to know. And we're together in this. There's no accidents that you're here listening to me sharing this story as a part of the idea of a freedom that is your birthright, a freedom that cannot be taken from you. Too many people pass this way in order for us to be free. And I'm talking about being free in the spirit and being here for God. And anything that you share and give and care about builds a sense of freedom that everybody is entitled to. A freedom is just an expression of love, really. The people that we recognize as being free beings are people that we care for and about. It's like caring for and about ourselves. So I think every generation, every family, every person has an opportunity to make this choice to be free. Mary Garner was born a slave, but she rocked herself as a free woman into a greater expression of her freedom. So what I'm inviting you to do this week, I tried, the thing that came up was to invite you to find your own sense of freedom. Maybe it might feel like just a piece of a whole story of something. And you might just look through some papers that you have. You might just make a phone call to somebody. You might just ask an elder or a person that you think of as being a very wise person. You might ask a question that you have that you ought to know the answer to. But maybe you haven't had time, or maybe you didn't think it was important, or maybe you thought it would break your heart or something. I don't know. But I'm just inviting you to just open yourself to open your willingness to have the freedom to know. And know that that's okay, whatever you do. But maybe this week you could focus on maybe just one small thing that would anchor your sense of freedom, your ability to live your own life on your own terms. Let's see, what else is there? Whatever you find, the whole thing, nothing is going to collapse on top of you, But the things that are not true may just kind of start to crumble. And that's okay. You can be a witness to that. You can see how, I used to think this, but now I think this. And just see how that feels to you. Feel what a difference it makes in the way that you breathe. I guess I feel like I want to talk about a lot of things, but breathing is really, it's necessary for our life. And it's a way that we handle things. The breath of God is what is breathing us. And so we're circulating the Spirit of God with the breath that we breathe. And with the words that flow out on the breath that we breathe. And even the thoughts that flow out from the breath that we breathe. So I like to say Mary Garner's name now that I know it. I'm inviting you to see if there's a name you'd like to say that hasn't been said for a while, or a name you'd like to discover, a name you would like to bless. I know that those that came before us are blessing us. I know that they feel that they have left the world in our capable hands and hearts. And I know that there is support for us everywhere. Well, I'm kind of learning that it's not that I do ministry and I do writing. It's kind of like two streams of the same thing. a lot of the things that I write about are things that I share with you. And a lot of the things that I share with you are things that I want to write about. So, and I like stories, so maybe this ministry is moving a little bit more in the direction of sharing stories. Okay, I'm going to pray. I'm always on track in prayer. I'm grateful and thankful for this day and this life, for this way of life. I'm grateful for the gifts of this lifetime, which are more than the grains of sand. I'm grateful for the all good of God that is revealing itself through all of life. I'm grateful for the presence of our angels and teachers and guides. I'm grateful for the opportunity to attune to them, to align ourselves with the Holy Presence. I'm grateful to speak words of truth. I'm grateful to say that I follow truth. Grateful for the love that is shared, for the ways that we care about one another. Grateful for the ways that we support and help and assist one another. Grateful for our vision of peace on this planet. A place for everybody to be free to live their life in peace and without fear. Grateful for the freedom to love who we choose to love. Grateful for the freedom to worship in a way that we choose to worship. Grateful for the way the I Am presence expresses through and as each one of us. Grateful to release the barriers and the boundaries, the restrictive covenants. Grateful to bless and release any sense of otherness. Grateful to join in unity and oneness, in health and in wholeness, in prosperity and abundance, in compassion and generosity. Grateful that each of us gets to let this be, gets to let the love be within us, to let the peace be where we are, to let the compassion and the generosity express through and as us, and to know that there is no lack of any good thing anywhere. Grateful to align ourselves with truth. Grateful to bless one another and to be blessed by one another. Grateful to praise God, from whom all blessings flow, and to know the truth, that each of us is free in the Spirit and really only here for God. And because I know that this is so, I release it with gratitude and praise, with thanksgiving. And take my hands off of it and just let it be. I know the law knows exactly what to do with it without my help. So I just rejoice that it is done. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm trying to, well, I don't know, part of my screen just disappeared, but That must be perfect too. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating. Thank you for supporting this ministry if it is supporting you in any way. Thank you for giving of yourself in any place that you're called to give and to share. Anytime that you're giving anywhere, you're giving to yourself, because whatever it is that you're giving just comes back to you multiplied. So maybe it's just a week about just giving. Wherever you can see, you can give a smile or give a hello, give a bottle of water, give $1, send a check. Any way that you feel like giving is the same thing as loving. And so you can't go wrong if you're giving. If you're giving your time, if you're giving your greeting, if you're sending a card, just be in a space of giving and see how much you will receive, but that's not the reason that you're giving. I'd love to hear how this ministry is serving you, how it can better serve you. I invite you to write anything you care to in the chat box, or send me an email, revgreta@me.com. My newsletter is coming out next week. If you'd like to have a copy of it, you can go to the website, revgreta@me.com, and just click on newsletter and you'll get a copy of it. Have a wonderful week. Have a beautiful life, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Bye for now. Take good care. God bless you.